Hi, I'm Jason Yip from the University of Washington, and this talk is an actual shortened version of a Kai talk that was given by Kylie Sobel, who actually made the slides. Thank goodness! And we told Kylie we were going to study Pokemon, and she said, "Okay, let's do it." So that's when you have really good students. So grad students follow Kylie. Title is it wasn't really about the Pokemon, learning in location-based augmented mobile reality games. So one of the big things that we like to study in my lab is how do families, parents, children, and neighbors and others use technologies to collaborate, learn together. And one of the big questions, that we had was when Pokemon Go came out, right? Does everyone raise your hand if you know Pokemon Go? Okay, so I don't need to talk too much about it. Location-based game, catch monsters. Some augmented reality, depending on how you define augmented reality, lots of neighborhood coordination. Our big, people keep staring at me and say, why are you still studying this? Is it a fad? And I'm like, no. This is still going on, right? So these are the numbers right now, 800 million downloads, 1.8 billion revenue, it's probably 2 billion now, since June 2018, right? That's 2 years, it's still going. $104 million in May 2018, the third most grossing mobile game since September. So this is not slowed down. You might not see the crowds anymore, but this is still going on. And so, as it still goes on, people still ask these questions, bad, danger, oh my gosh, we've sent the children out to the world, bad for you, bad. Does it make me a bad parent? Oh, it might, or maybe it actually could be good, right? It brings families together and it's captured my family. So wait, what is going on right here? I don't think you can see it. I'm sorry that the quality's not so good, but there are families in here. This is when it first came out. This is Bellevue Square, if you're familiar with Seattle. There's a parent with a child strapped to each other. I mean, this is what it looked like a long time ago. It doesn't look like this now, although maybe on community days it does. So that begs the question, what are parents' experiences, perspectives, and attitudes regarding their children playing location-based mobile augmented reality games? And really more specifically for our work, what are parents' experiences, perspectives, and attitudes regarding their children playing Pokemon Go? So I think that we took the quote from this parent as part of the title, but it really wasn't about the Pokemon. And you'll see from this talk that it really is, it's not really about the technology. There is something about it, but there's a lot more to it. We talk a lot about parental mediation of children's digital media use. We talked about restrictive styles, we talk about active styles, but mostly what we want to talk about today is the social co-viewing or co-use, because that's really where the heart of things are at in this case. And we like to think about Mimi Ito's work and actually Lori's work, when people use technology together, the shared experience, supports this social bonding. So for us, it was really important to understand what's going on with the social bonding. Is it happening, and are things doing okay? And think about joint media engagement that enables people to co-create these meaningful connections among representations, interests, and experiences. So, Pokemon Go has these weird tensions, right? This is Julie. She's she's at the University of Washington. This is her daughter, Maya. And they've got the screen, but it's outside. So is it screen time? But I'm outside. I don't know what to do. I'm conflicted, right? But it's in my neighborhood, and is it okay? What do I? And the parents are just lost. So we were okay, for our Kai 2017 paper, we were we're gonna do a 45-minute online survey national for parents and children who have played before, and also semi-structured interviews with parents in the park, trying to understand what's going on. What were some of the things that we walked away with? So I'm mostly today going to talk about quotes as opposed to any large overall findings in the sense. But we found, we looked at basically the concerns and workarounds and the perceived benefits. Let's talk about some of the concerns right now. Definitely the same screen time and physical harm. Physical harm is the new part right here, right? Screen time I think is old. This is Sesame Workshop. We all know, everyone's scared of screen time. But let's talk about it anyway, right? It's still screen time. I'm outdoors. It's constant. It's a lot of screen time. He's kind of obsessed. It's too much screen time, right? So you got these parents, they're playing Pokemon Go, they're outside, but they consider it screen time, right? But then we have this sort of middle ground parents where well, even if it's screen time, it's still better than Minecraft, right? Like I'm outdoors. It's less screen time. It's not that they're buried in the screen the whole time, right? Like they gotta look up. So at some point the screen goes away. So now we sort of hit this middle ground of like, okay, maybe it's screen time, maybe not. You know, and then there's these workarounds that with Pokemon Go or these location-based augmented reality games, because they're mobile, because like you have to be outdoors to play, because of parts, you know, there's time limits, there's shutting down the device, parents stay in control of the mobile device, you know, children attend to other responsibilities and commitments. You have to take the trash out or you don't go out to play. Like these are all things that we've seen with traditional screen time. But, you know, now that there's a little bit more concern in this part now called physical harm. This is my favorite quote of the paper. I don't want my kids to be the dum-dums who fall off a cliff or get run over by a car because they are too engaged, right? You know, you think about it, like there is sort of now the distractions of now being outdoors. You know, what are the rules now? How do I go out? How do I move? How do I actually go? Because you don't want to be that dum-dum child. Physical harm workarounds. Adults have to accompany the children, right? You know, and there's this tension right now. Play, like I play in a neighborhood group, and there's this like 12-year-old who comes without his parents, and we're like, where are your parents? And he's like, I don't know, I just come. Right? So what do we think about this? You know, not allowed to speak to strangers. There's tensions there. We play with community groups, only play in the daytime. You know, older children can travel certain distance, but if you're younger, you stay by my side. You know, and so there's a lot of tensions with both screen time and the physical harm. And the parents also are in control of the device. You know, it's one device, you can kind of pass it back and forth. But let's talk about some of the perceived benefits. This is the part of the slide that I like. How does it fit into certain values and family bonding time in this case? Let's talk about values. So there are times I cannot get out and walk the dogs as my husband works nights and my son just doesn't want to walk. But now I can incite my son with the game and he wants to go. Right? There's something about it now. It's getting me outside a little bit. My daughter's probably lost 12 pounds since she's been playing. It forces her to get out of the house. Normally, she's a generation where she just sits at the table and plays on the computer. So now we're seeing this thing of mobility, walking the neighborhood, using the device now to map certain things out. In this case, this is my favorite quote, my favorite positive quote. We came down to the park where lots of other moms came down with their kids. We all sat together. We brought food. We sat under the tree. We could catch lots of stuff. We took turns to go off. It was a really nice afternoon. It was the first time my family had a picnic in a couple of years. It was because of Pokemon Go. Oh no, like screen time or picnic time, right? Like what do we think? It's this sort of tension that kind of comes up. You know, and this idea of family bonding was also what we found. You know, I think it reinforces that we have common interests. Pokemon is it is the #1 biggest franchise, bigger than Star Wars right now at this point in terms, and so there is this generation, like my generation still, so it reinforces that common interest. My daughter's enthusiasm is turning me into a gamer. Like we've met parents who are now first-time gamers, now understanding like what this is all about. I learned that my kids can love something as much as I can. We can both be kids together. Like that's kind of amazing. Like, whoa. What's going on, bad or good? You know, I don't think that's the thing we want to think about. But you know, to kind of conclude, we want to talk about like why Pokemon Go was pretty much was actually we would call it successful for joint family engagement. One of the things is that like, you know, it goes back to Lori's work on joint media engagement and co-viewing. We found that it really hit the 6 points of co-viewing. The idea of mutual engagement, family, both parent and child have something to do together. That's not like, you know, like it might be with cookie time monster games, you know, the parents kind of like, I'm just gonna watch. With Pokemon Go, it's my game too, right? Dialogic inquiry, I can talk about Pokemon universe. I can actually have a conversation outside of this game. I can co-create this experience I'm having. I can boundary cross. It no longer is just for me and the child. It can go beyond different things. The intention to develop, I can level up. I can experience growth and development and leveling in the game. And I can actually focus more on the content, not the control. The controls are simple enough. And it's really easy to play. We've seen grandparents at like, you know, at the age of, you know, 70, 80, walking their kids around the park playing this. So I think it's quite interesting in that sense. So to conclude, Pokemon Go also kind of like depends on this sort of highly outdoor context. So as we think about the future of learning, where things will be mobile, augmented, you have to think about the outdoors now, which is like, oh no, like that's a whole new other set of things to think about. You know, facilitates family and children connecting beyond and within the game, and it does kind of reconcile some of those issues, right? It's not perfect. Parents still feel guilty, and that I don't think we're meant to that guilt doesn't go away. But then there are some parents who are like, whoa, this is different. And I think that's something that we have to think about, where the differences and similarities are. And some of the ways we've been studying new ways of mobile learning with Pokemon Go, we've been studying the offline data analysis. What happens when parents want to begin to analyze their play style, or begin to engage in online communities to track and figure out where to catch the best Pokemon. How can children get involved in all that? Or the idea that group rating dynamics, being able to organize an entire neighborhood and group, how to now meeting your neighbors for the first time, and playing, what is it like for children now to begin to understand what rating is like? So to conclude, families as technology users is what we've been thinking a lot about. Where does the family lie within location-based augmented reality? Parents' values and perspectives of their children's, it matters, how this all works out. And generative understanding of designing for families. There are some really awesome people: Julie Keynes, Jinha Lee, Alexis Heinecker, Cecilia Aragon, Arpita Bhattacharya, and Kylie Sobel in the back. So thank you very much.